Howdy y'all. Today I am participating in the Here's to a Colorful Year Hop. We are hoping to inspire you for the upcoming school year with different coloring techniques. We all have a favorite tool we love to color with, and we hope to inspire you to try something new. At the top of the description box, you will find the link to the next person in the lineup. I hope you take the time to watch all the hop videos because we love your comments and thumbs ups. If you aren't already a subscriber, I hope you consider subscribing and click on the little bell icon so you won't miss any of my future videos. You can also use hashtag #ColorfulYearHop to find all of the channels participating in this hop in order to maximize your chances of winning one of our grand prizes. Some of the channels may be offering prizes, so be sure to pay attention for details. At the end of this hop, we will have 3 grand prize winners drawn from those that watched and commented on all the videos. The grand prize drawings are open internationally. Please check out my description box for all of the details on that. And for today's video, I am showing you how I used crayons and a heat tool to create this beautiful background along with a stencil, a bit of water, and distress ink and sponging. So, can't wait to show you how we get this beautiful card created. So to start out, I've already set some colors aside. This is rainbow order, so basically it's like pink and red. So these are just the regular primary colors, which would be red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. And next to them are the lighter shades of those colors. We're going to take our pixie spray and we're going to apply that to the back of our watercolor paper because we want to be sure that our watercolor paper doesn't budge. We're doing it for the back side primarily because we're going to bring in some painter's tape. This is frog tape, painter's tape. It's the delicate surface version. If you don't have delicate surface, that's fine. You could always use purple tape, or you could use washi tape or regular painter's tape, and just make sure to take a little bit of the stick off of the regular painter's tape. So the watercolor paper is cut a little bit larger than an A2 size card front, which is fine because we can then cut it to work for our card base. I prefer to use an A2 size card, but you could go and use a square card like a 6x6 or a 5.5 by 5.5, or you could do a 5x7, you know, whatever kind of cards you like to work with. This technique would work with all of that. Also bringing in my paint box because although I know it's going to be a bit messy to do this technique, I don't necessarily want it all over my table. I'm okay if it gets on my paint box because that's kind of what my paint box is for. So you just apply heat using your heat tool. So I think that's pretty good actually. This is definitely a mixed media technique as opposed to a traditional card making technique, but I think this will work. And what we're going to do now, I'm going to put a stencil down right here, and we're going to stencil in a ballerina. So we can move the paint box because we don't need that. And we're done with our heat tool. Still have our crayons. So the stencil I'm going to use is a ballerina. The stencils that I have, as far as these ballerina stencils, are actually cookie stencils. That's kind of why they're in the shape of pretty much a cookie. Now we're going to bring back in the pixie spray and apply that to the back of our stencil. I just haven't decided which ballerina we want to use yet. I think that one looks the prettiest. And typically when I use my stencils, I like to, if I don't have my, actually, you know what? We're going to do it the way I normally would, since I think the crayons are kind of getting on the dry side. We're going to do it the way I normally do with the Make Art Station. And that way we don't have to worry about using the pixie spray. But if you don't have a Make Art Station, pixie spray works really well with stencils, so I would recommend it for that. But as you can see, it worked pretty well as a backer for our watercolor paper also. We may also go back in to apply more heat to the crayons, to see just how far down we can move the crayons so that they're a little bit closer to our ballerina. But for right now, we're going to stencil our ballerina. Okay, so we've got our Make Art Station, and we're going to take our watercolor paper off of our clipboard. I think it's looking really cool. So we're going to need to bring in our spatula, one of the handy tools that they have on the Tool-in-One. So we're going to take our watercolor paper, and we're going to bring in our stencil, and we're just going to move our tape back just in case we need to put our watercolor paper back onto our clipboard. So now we're going to use the magnets that come with our Make Art Station. See, they're really strong magnets. They're so strong that they come apart, but still do their job. So as far as our ballerina goes, I'm thinking she should just be in black, because I didn't actually use any black on the card as far as the crayons go. So we are going to use this tool to help us apply our ink, and we're going to use black soot distress ink for our ballerina. So my distress ink has a little hinge that I've made. That's because I found that when I travel with it before, when it didn't have that and it just came as it normally does, it wasn't as great because the ink colors are great, but before I put in the hinge, the tops would just pop off if I was traveling with them. So now they don't do that. So it's easier to store them and keep track of them because you're not having to refine them. I'll have links in the description box below on where you can find this type of tape. There's our ballerina. She looks pretty cute. And I think we will bring our, I think we're going to apply a little bit of water. Here, we're just going to use a bit of water from our water bottle. To help activate the distress ink on our ballerina. And bring in a bit of kitchen towel to just clean that up a bit. I think it looks really cool. So, what do you think? Do you think it's done, or should we bring in a bit more melted crayon? I'm thinking we're going to bring in a bit more melted crayon. So, we don't want our ballerina to be covered by the melted crayon. So what we're going to do for that is we are going to create a mask to put on top of her so she gets left alone. We're going to bring in a circle die cut to help us figure out what size of mask we want to use. I think that looks like a good size. So we're just going to have to die cut a mask. When I make a mask, I use rock label paper, which I'll have listed in the description box below, to help me make that mask. I heard about rock paper from Mary Polanco's channel. So we're going to move our pretty ballerina for a minute. So now we just need to grab a Post-it to help us tape our die cut down a bit so it doesn't shift while we're die cutting. So, what is your style of making cards? Are you a clean and simple person, or grunge, or mixed media? Do you like to do interactive cards? Are you a fan of watercolors? Let me know in the comment box below so that way I can gear my videos more towards that. Also, if you go to my channel, I have a playlist section, and I have a playlist for watercolor techniques, at least for the ones I've done so far. So I have covered quite a bit, but I mean, there are always. So we're going to cover our ballerina, and we're going to make sure that it's smooth, because this is one time we definitely want to make sure it's smooth as far as like the placement of our mask. Let's bring our setup back in so we can do some more crayon melting. We may have to readjust the placement of our painter's tape, but basically we're not going to have to adjust too much, just enough, because we just want to make sure that it stays, that our watercolor piece stays in place while we're doing a bit more melting. We're going to try to bring the melted crayon a bit closer to our ballerina. So just bring back our paint box and our heat tool. Actually, we're gonna move the paper from our crayon because I want to take a bit of that off. I don't necessarily want to take all of it off, but I definitely want to take enough of it off that we can actually work with it. Okay, I know when my nails fail me, my tool-in-one won't. And perhaps I should have done this part beforehand, but I didn't realize how much it was going to melt, because this is my first time doing this technique. I've just admired it from afar for so long that I was like, there's got to be a way to adapt that to making a card somehow. So if you were going to do this experiment, I would recommend removing the paper first, just in case you have to go back in to finish off your card front. I mean, it just depends how much you want to do as far as this technique, of course. But I do think this is a really fun technique. So let it melt just a bit more, and we're going to see how well our mask did as far as being able to protect our ballerina. So let's see how our ballerina's doing. Oh, I think it's really good. There's our little experimentation. Now we just need to cut it to an A2 size card. So as far as colors go, and not speaking about coloring mediums, but basically just colors, what color would you be if you were in a crayon box? See, I'm thinking I would want to be, okay, so this is the largest set I could find of crayons, and I just love it because it helps give me like a different color scheme to work with. Like, these ones are so cool. These are the glitter crayons. Did you know they made glitter crayons? I mean, come on, I didn't know they made glitter crayons. That might be because we have no children, but I didn't know they made glitter crayons. So if I had to pick a crayon to be as far as a glitter crayon, I would probably be this really pretty glitter crayon right here. I think it's a red. It doesn't say it's a red, but I don't know why that is. But yeah, that's the color I would want to be. So yeah, there are still the basic crayon colors, but also, oh my goodness, they have metallic crayons now. Oh, these are beautiful. As far as a metallic crayon goes, I would probably actually pick this color, because this color is gorgeous. But those don't have a name, so I don't know why they didn't name them. They just didn't. But as far as a color, my favorite color would have to be magenta. I love magenta. Those are the colors I like, but what colors do you like? Now, getting back to our card, we are trying to go for a A2 size card, so that would be 5.5. We don't want to cut all of that off, but we may cut off some of that section. So let's see what portion we cut off. And you don't have to do this, but this is only because I work exclusively, well, I want to say exclusively, but I have started doing slimline cards. But basically for a slimline card, well, I'll have a video on that pretty soon. So we'll talk about that at that time. We will cut it here. Because we just needed it to be 4.25 by 5.5. So I think that's really pretty. So we could go back in and we could melt some more crayon. I don't know. I think I'm okay with the amount of crayon that's melted, actually. But then I look at the ballerina and I'm like, she needs something else. What do you think? Do you think we should melt some more crayon? I mean, we could at least melt the crayon that's here. That might work at least. I mean, we don't have to necessarily melt new crayon. We could just melt some more of those pieces that are on there already. Yeah, let's do that. Now we will have to be careful because I did just chuck our mask. So hopefully we don't mess up. You know what? We're bringing our mask back in. So here's our mask. We know this is our mask because we've been using it also. You can totally still see melted crayon. So we are just going to try to melt a bit more of this crayon, not adding more color to it, just melting a bit more of that crayon. So I would like to Let's see what we can do. So I think that will work. Because we don't want to cover our ballerina, but we do want to kind of give her a bit more, well, cover the card a bit more. I think it looks really good. Although there's not quite as much pink as I wanted. Guess I could bring that pink back in and do a bit more with that, but I don't know. So yeah, let's bring our pink back in. Okay. Our colors have melted a bit together, but that's kind of to be expected considering we're doing this technique. But I think it's really fun. Hey, you guys could do this too. I mean, after having watched me do this, you could totally do this. So yeah, let's bring this back in right here. Because I don't think there's enough pink. I'm okay with the greens and the other colors, but I like pink. I guess I'm kind of girly. I think that looks much better. I think that's just what it needed, was a bit more pink. There, I think our ballerina looks really good. Now, I just need to put her onto a card base. And do you think she needs a sentiment? See, I haven't decided that yet. But we are going to put her on a card base. We're going to go with my favorite scoring platform, which would be the Score Pal. Just got to grab our bone folder, set that crease in. So I like to use the Score Pal to create the crease, but I don't like to use the tool with the Score Pal to set the crease because that will create a bit of a shine. And I don't want that on my card. So now here's our card base. There's our card front. I think we're going to use a bit of tear tape to stick it down. I like it. It looks very much like it's a mixed media piece, which it is. I'm trying to get more into mixed media. Usually I'm a clean and simple girl. I mean, I can build a scene on my cards, but it's still gonna lean more towards the clean and simple look because that's just who I am. But I would definitely say this piece is very much different for me. So now we've got our card front and our card base. We're gonna put them together. I like to do it this way because then I can rely on the edge that's right here to help sort of guide me into making sure that the back of my card is, that my cards wind up being aligned correctly. I really like those art pieces that have been done with melted crayon, and I was like, well, we've got to be able to adapt that to card making. We've just got to. I mean, yeah, I would definitely recommend using a watercolor paper of some sort. You don't have to use the one that I used today, but I would definitely recommend a watercolor paper to use as far as your base. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope y'all like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to comment if you're interested in getting one of the grand prizes, as there are 3. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay crafty. Bye, y'all.